Hi, how are you? So in this video I'm going to be talking about how I used to make mixtapes back in the day. Now if you're like me and you grew up kind of in the 80s and into the 90s and music was a big part of your life, you probably made mixtapes at one point or another. And many of us made mixtapes simply by using a dual cassette recorder. So basically a cassette recorder where you could dub from one tape to another. Well, that was certainly one way of doing it. People would basically choose a bunch of tapes and choose a song from each of those tapes and record it onto one of the blank tape in the dual cassette recorder. Well, this is how I did it. So basically it all started with a mixer. And like many music enthusiasts back in the day, many wannabe DJs back in the day, we all had these cheap little mixers that we would buy at Radio Shack. And I had the simplest one. It was just a little 4-channel mixer. And I did a review of this mixer some time ago, and I encourage you to go back and look at this video. Basically, so there were 4 inputs, and what that meant was I could run in 4 mono inputs or 2 stereo inputs. So for example, let's say I had 2 tape decks. Okay, so I'm just going to pretend I have 2 tape decks, and please excuse my rudimentary drawing skills. I'm not a great artist. I never claimed to be a great artist, but let's just say we have a couple of tape decks. So basically I would queue up a bunch of cassettes, whichever with the songs that I wanted to use in my mix, and I could run 2 stereo inputs into the mixer, so left and right from this tape deck and left and right from this tape deck. Okay, and then for the outputs I would have another recorder, and to be frank, for quite some time I had a boom box. Yeah, it was basically an AM/FM double cassette boom box, and I would often use that as my recording device. And so that's what I would run my outputs from my mixer. I would run into the boom box for recording. So that was basically one way that I would do it. And as I mentioned, with the mixer I could have again either 4 mono inputs or 2 stereo. Well, in this situation that I just drew here, I drew 2 stereo outputs coming from 2 different tape decks. But maybe I also had a CD player. Okay, and sometimes that was the case as well. Let's just pretend this is a CD player. Again, I apologize for my basic artistic skills. Or maybe I had a turntable. So here's my turntable. Okay. And maybe I also had a microphone. Okay, maybe it was one of those things where I wanted to DJ in between songs. So there's my microphone. So again, let's just cancel out these 2. Okay, so I'm just going to cancel out my previous example, and I'm going to input 4 different mono connections. So I have a mono connection coming out of my CD player going into the mixer. I have a mono connection coming out of my turntable going into the mixer, and I'm also running my microphone into the mixer as well. Okay, and so again I have 1, 2, 3 mono inputs running into the mixer. I could have a 4th. Believe it or not, sometimes I might have used a keyboard. Yeah, maybe I wanted to be a little creative, and maybe I just wanted to use a preset rhythm that was coming out of my little Casio keyboard, and I wanted to somehow use that. So I would also run that into the mixer as well. So yeah, so basically I would be jumping from a CD player to a turntable, or maybe a cassette deck to a turntable. And as one song was fading out, I would slowly fade in the next song. And that's basically how I would do it. And again, I'd be recording up here on my boombox or whatever device I was using for recording. And yeah, I used to fill up cassettes all the time. My preferred length of cassette was 90 minutes. Sometimes I used 60, sometimes I used 120, but in most cases it was 90 minutes. Often normal bias, but quite often chrome cassettes as well. And yeah, I would make up these very crude mixtapes. Again, I used to love kind of, as one song was starting to fade out, I would fade in the next song, so it would be like one continuous mix. I love doing that. And I love to play those songs in my car stereo and in my Walkman. And as I mentioned in the description down below, I still have many of these mixtapes. Many of them are very, very, very crude. Yeah, kind of hard to listen to my ears today, but it was still a lot of fun, and I'm very encouraged to hear that many young people are slowly getting into cassette recording as well these days, and I encourage that. It's a lot of fun. So thank you for watching. I'd love to hear from you. Please tell me, how did you make mixtapes back in the day? Maybe you still make mixtapes. I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment, give us a thumbs up, and please, as always, subscribe to the channel. I post new videos every week, and I'd love to have you join our family. Thanks again. We'll see you again next time. Take care. Bye-bye.